The Miami Dolphins had a productive day one of mandatory minicamp. All but 2 players showed up today. We will discuss who was there, who wasn't, and who had excused absences on this episode of Dolphins In Depth. I'm your host, Omar Kelly, Miami Herald columnist. Joining me is Isaiah Smalls, Miami Herald reporter. Isaiah, Jalen Ramsey was not at the Dolphins mandatory minicamp, which I think is a surprise to nobody, considering his absence was excused. Let's just put it that way. And then we've got Jonnu Smith, who had decided that, hey, I'm going to be penalized $17,000 for the first day. I believe it's $33,000 for the second day, and then $55,000 for the third day, total of $105,000 if he skips all of the mandatory. I will plead this to you, Jonnu. We know what the issue is. Show up for practice. Buy your wife something nice. You don't even have to practice, dude. You don't have to practice. You just have to stand there. As long as you attend mandatory minicamp, you don't have to do a damn thing. They cannot fine you. And if you'd like, you may come to the media and speak to us and present your case on why you don't want to be the 30th highest paid tight end in the league. Please save your money and spend it on your family. It is, and obviously Jalen Ramsey has not been traded, but Jalen has an excuse because the Dolphins don't want the smoke. Any surprises to you from the business side? Zach Sealer did show up, kind of participated. I think I saw like one snap of 11 on 11s. I can't really count.
He did his individuals. Don't discount the individuals.
Okay, he did his individuals.
Yeah, he was working.
I love that Mike McDaniel pointed out that he has been there every single day. He has just not taken it to the field. That's the Zach I know. Zach is a leader. This is his second soft holdout, hold in. And Zach, I watched him while they were doing the team drills, and you could tell Zach wanted to work, but Zach is sitting there like I'm trying to make a statement, which is I want my money. Anybody taking this approach the right or wrong way in your opinion?
No, I think both players kind of took the right approach because I think there's two different issues, right? I don't want to lump the two together. No.
Issues.
I think it's two different issues. I think because of where Jonnu ranks in that pay scale, we just saw a tight end. Let's just say for context. Okay. For context, what just happened today? We're sitting in the stands. Boom, our phones go off. Josh Oliver from the Minnesota Vikings gets paid about $20 million in guarantees, I believe. I think it was 3 years.
$18 million in guarantees, yeah.
3 years, like 20-something million. A modest deal. You look up his stats. I believe his best year was like this past year. I believe it was 30-something catches, 250 yards, right? So if I'm Jonnu Smith, right, I'm thinking I see that deal, and I'm like, no, there's no way. There's no way. You got to come up off of some bread. It's really that simple. In terms of, and then why that's a little bit different from Zach Sealer is, look, Zach Sealer is the heartbeat of this team, right? I think he's one of those guys that when people look to him, a guy that really got it out the mud, he's really an example for what you got, for what you want in a defensive tackle, right? Really just a leader.
And Jonnu is not such a thing on offense or not such a thing in tight end?
Hold on. I think there's levels to it. I think there's levels to it. Zach Sealer has been around here a lot longer, right? Okay. He is part of that culture, right? And because he is part of that culture, he's trying to set that example of, look, we got to come here, we got to work, right? Jonnu is new to the team. Jonnu had a great year last year. Okay. Rewrote the history books from a tight end perspective, and that deserves credit. And he does deserve his money.
And also got off to a very slow start, and his position coach, basically said there's more work to be done.
Oh, of course.
You're going to get to the level that you have the potential to get to. The problem is the work isn't being done right now.
And at the end of the day, that's the crux, right? How much do you lose out on in minicamp that will ultimately contribute to who you are down the road versus you being at home, doing your stuff in the book, still throwing with Tua, as Tua said, off campus, they're getting some throws in, right? So I think there's levels to
it. Here's my thing. I don't like that you said that they're different because they're not. They're both 30-year veterans who are paid half. We're going to be paid half of what they're really deserving.
Of course.
Even though Zach is signed for 2 more years and Jonnu is coming up, it's relatively the same issue. Jonnu's the 30th highest paid tight end. Zach Sealer is the 50th highest paid defensive lineman. And I would argue to you that they've got comparable level Pro Bowl-esque careers right now. They're on the verge of having breakouts of becoming NFL stars, or at least NFL stars for this team. Yeah. Now, in fairness to the Dolphins, what's the rush? Hey, I'm not making you my sweet final offer for another 2 months. Okay, you don't want to work? All right, no problem. But this is a mandatory period when it's voluntary. This is a mandatory period. We need you to show up. We need you to show the progress that you're doing. We need you to take team pictures like we did on Monday. Yeah. Now, if you're saying that we're going to trade you, which I think is just asinine and crazy, then maybe we're talking about a different thing. But this team would be crazy to trade Jonnu right now.
I agree.
You might as well mail it in.
Yeah, I agree. No. Trading Jonnu should not be a possibility because of. I think you look at the room in general, right? And look, you got some guys there. Julian Hill, great blocking tight end. Farrell Brown, a blocking tight end. So it's I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just wait. There's one thing that I cannot get out of my mind today. A route that he ran.
It's Farrell.
Yes, it looked a little bit
like he was wearing ankle weights.
Yeah, a little bit. And I'm like, all right, cool. It's minicamp, you know what I'm saying? We can.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful either.
Yeah, no.
But it's the slowest tight end I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know about all that. You've been around this for a lot longer.
I used to think Durham was slow. He made Durham seem like a 100-meter runner. It's slow. Anyway, let me stop.
Yeah. You wilding now. You wild. But to get back to what we're saying about Jonnu, this team cannot trade him. I think that is a sign of quote unquote rebuilding, right? That it's the R word that no one wants to say around the facility, right?
No, they not rebuilding.
Yeah, or no, that's not happening, right?
We're not retooling. We're not starting over.
Exactly.
Right now.
Exactly, and I think having Jonnu on the team ultimately does that because of what he was able to do, and hopefully, look. We can, if this run game gets going, this offensive line gets in sync, then hopefully, we can get some downfield passes to Tyreek, some explosive plays to Jalen Waddle, which, we saw a few today, to Waddle specifically. He looked great. That connection is growing and needs to be fruitful this year.
I hate when people say that connection is growing. You do realize they play together at Alabama, right? They
right.
known each other a bazillion years.
I agree. But something that Tua said today that really stuck out to me is this period when he can just kind of focus on just training with Jalen Waddle specifically, because in the past it's been just getting Tyreek integrated into the offense, right?
No, it's not. Half the time last year, Tyreek wasn't even practicing. He would show up middle of practice and run his routes, get his targets, and then go sit down.
That's fair.
I am not accepting any of these Waddle and Tua chemistry excuses. No, they just target Tyreek more, and they target Tyreek more justifiably so because Tyreek is like twice the talent that Jalen Waddle is. No disrespect to Jalen. Tyreek is the baddest man I've ever seen in football ever, and I've covered some elite players.
Yeah.
I've covered some Hall of Fame players. Okay. Tyreek is a ridiculous, freakish athlete.
Okay.
So. Andre Johnson, Santana Moss. I cover Peter Ward. You don't even know who Peter Ward is. You don't know no Peter Ward. You don't know Peter Ward. He didn't have an NFL career, but that man could stop on a dime and give you 9 cents change. That man, his change of direction was crazy. You got to watch some FSU highlights. His career ended over. Or basically got tarnished because of a bad ACL repair. But man, that dude was special before he suffered a knee injury. Chad Ochocinco, It don't matter who. Andre Johnson, I covered him at Reggie Wayne, it don't matter. Tyreek is that dude. Like Tyreek is when Tyreek is healthy.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and for it, Tyreek was actually catching balls today. He was not working in the team period, but that was important because his 2 hand injuries have seemed to be subsided, and he's beginning to catch the ball. Here is Tua Tagovailoa talking about his chemistry with Tyreek and working on that, and also his position on the Jonnu Smith contract negotiations.
You know, he can't catch, but he can sure run his routes, and we've still been getting reps that obviously aren't throws to him, but reps on air where I can still work on my footwork as he's timing out his routes and doing things of that nature. And then I've got to throw with Jonnu a couple times outside of the facility, so you know that's how we've been working together too.
Drew, I'm doing something. Are you team A, Jonnu?
Oh, 100%. That's my guy. That's my dog. Jonnu's done really good for us, so you know, I have nothing bad to say about him, and I mean I love him as a person too. So you know, outside of the football, I think all our guys that do what they need to do, you know, they should get paid.
You've been on this side last offseason. How do you kind of look at it now as you're looking at Jonnu with this business situation, Jalen with this different business situation? How do you look at those 2 issues?
Well, I look at it as the conversations are between the team and their agent, you know, not between me and you know, the team, if you will. But there's a lot of things that's going to happen throughout that process. And, you know, if you really tap into listening to what your agent is going to tell you or what your agent has to say, first off, you don't really know if they're telling you the truth. Still, even if you're paying them, you don't know that. And you don't know what side they're playing. You know, do they want to please you? Are they telling you the truth? All of that. Are they trying to rile you up so that you say something to the team? So I would say that's one of those things where all you can do is work. You let those guys handle the business, and if it sounds right to you when it comes back, then it sounds right. If not, you continue to work through that.
Yeah. As I often say, the off season is time to handle the business of football. You know, people always want to say, oh, well, they need to be focused on the game. They need to be focused on practicing. That's when you get to the exhibition season. Up until even training camp, you handle your business in training camp. Now, when you start preparing for games like you do in the exhibition season, okay, that's the time to get to work. But if I'm Miami, the Miami Dolphins, and understand I have always been an advocate for players to be paid. I understand some of that blew up in your face last year. Now, the extensions to Jalen Ramsey, even I would say the extensions to Jalen Waddle, because you didn't need to give him that. I would say the extensions to Tyreek, even Tua, because right now, if you didn't extend Tua, he'd probably be playing on the franchise tag. You'd probably be paying him $32 million instead of what he's averaging is $43 million. You didn't have to give all those extensions, even the extension to Mike McDaniel. You didn't have to give all those extensions, but you did that to send the right message to the teams. Now, fast forward a year, and what message are you sending to the players and the team by underpaying Jonnu Smith and Zach Sealer? What message is that sending?
To me, I think it's sending the wrong message, right? Because these are the guys that, you know, to your point, obviously Zach Sealer didn't make a Pro Bowl last year, but you know, he should have definitely made a Pro Bowl. He was the team, you know, the team MVP. So I just believe that, look, man, at the end of the day, you got to pay the guys that set the right example, right? And Zach Sealer is one of those guys. Jonnu Smith is one of those guys. And at the end of the day, look, until the team pays him, I think, first of all, let's go back to what Tua said. Jonnu is his guy, right? That has to, you know.
That has to weigh. That has to carry some weight.
Right? That has to carry some weight, right? That's your franchise quarterback. You know, that's QB1. So I think by Jonnu not showing up today, obviously, you know, you want him to, it would be cool for him to address me, to have that, you know, conversation with us. But at the same time, nothing speaks more than your quarterback singing your praises. So.
Maybe that should have been the lead to your story. Jonnu, that's my guy. I didn't even think about it until you pointed it out. Yeah,
that's real. That's real. That's real.
You really trade the player that your quarterback said, that's my guy.
Right.
Throwing him outside of the building. Because I'm trying to get my work done.
Right. So
yeah. Another very interesting. Let's talk about some of the important things that happened in practice today, because I don't want to gloss over it. Not everybody gets to read our daily practice reports, which we will be doing all the training camp as it continues on Wednesday and maybe Thursday. We did have 2 pick sixes today, which were pretty impressive. Considering this is a defense that didn't give you nothing on turnovers last year. Safety Elijah Campbell picked off Quinn Ewers a pass and returned it for a touchdown. The pass bounced off rookie AJ Henning's hands and in the air. And then rookie safety Dante Trader, he also had a pick six. That went off Zach Wilson. And that was on an overthrow to Taj Washington. And Isaiah Johnson had a good interception in the end zone. It was a 50-50 ball, and he just really went up there and skied and got it on a ball that was probably should have been credited for a sack.
Yeah, wasn't in the end zone though. It was close, but it wasn't in the end zone.
Oh, really? It wasn't in the end zone? Okay.
It was close. But not.
I think the play of the day to me was that third down Tua deep pass to Malik Washington along the sidelines.
Yes, the end of the day.
Malik just created some space at the last minute between him and the rookie cornerback, Brandon. What is his name? It's not
Jason Marshall Jr.
Jason Marshall Jr. Yeah, I'm haunted by my past.
Jeez Louise, man.
Listen, and that was a play, and even Tua pointed out, I've never connected on that like that with Malik. I think it was a third down. Tua threw that up there as a wish and a prayer. And Malik when that ball was in the air, it went from coverage like this to coverage like this. And I was like, damn.
Yeah. Malik really went to go grab that one. That one was very impressive, especially considering the connection that Malik and Tua started to develop towards the end of the season, right? Hitting on something like that could be big, for the future, right?
And we have been critical on Nick Westbrook. I can't remember how to say it. Yeah. He has been invisible for all of the practices that we have seen as media members. But today was a red zone day, and today he showed out in the red zone, which is exactly what you would think they would get from a 6'2", 211-pound target. He's not the biggest receiver, but he's one of those big bodies, and I'm glad to see that he came alive in the red zone for the very first day that we've actually seen him do anything. Defensively, I think Chop Robinson really had a good day. I liked what I saw from some of the safeties. Cornerback again just continues to be it's starting to feel to me like this team is going into this year with an incomplete cornerback unit, just like they had an incomplete offensive line. And when we get to the midseason point, we're gonna be like, like you saw this coming. And you did nothing. Right now, I couldn't even tell you who would be the starting cornerbacks for the Miami Dolphins. I would tell you that Kader Kohu's probably going to be playing boundary and nickel. And when Kader Kohu is head and shoulders, without a doubt, unequivocally, not even close, better than everybody else on your roster. And Kader might be a starter for 10 of the 32 other teams in the league, maybe 16.
I don't know about that. I'd have to check every team's nickel corner position. I don't know what every team's
and that's nickel. I'm not even talking about boundary. And Kader, no disrespect to Kader.
He's nice in the nickel. I like him. In the nickel.
My thing is, and I remember I was talking to Cam Smith today. We'll share that with y'all later. No need. I was talking to Cam Smith today, and Cam's like, somebody asked him about, who are you learning from? And Cam's like, oh, Cater. And I'm thinking to myself, like, like, Cater don't know. Like, I mean, I'm just being real. Like, Cater's what, 4 years in? This is his 4th year in his career.
Yeah. I mean, look, people have to step up in the position room, right? And you look to, of course, you have older guys like Artie Burns and Kendall Sheffield has been in the league about I think I remember five years, I believe. But at the end of the day, you look for the guys that are doing it the best on the field, right? And Cater is, what you said, head and shoulders better than everybody in the cornerback room. And you would want better OGs, but you got to deal with the OGs you got.
Yeah, absolutely. But we did have something today, and Mike McDaniel, who was a little bit testy today, a little bit spicy. We got spicy Mike. Cursed about 3 times.
You ready?
He was like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of some of this bull crap that y'all keep bringing up. He was like, come on, give me all this negative crap that y'all want to throw at me. Let me just address this before we get to the stuff that I really want to talk about. He ain't want to talk about Jalen Ramsey. He ain't want to talk about Jonnu. He didn't want to talk about, he didn't want to talk about who's not there, who's not working, blah, blah, blah. He just wanted to talk about what he presently was dealing with and how to maximize the day. But there was one thing that he said that really stood out to me, and that was on, the question was, I believe, from Joe Shad, our colleague from Palm Beach Post, and Joe was asking about why the lack of big plays from this offense last year. Yes. And Mike was basically like, listen, if we had a run game, nobody ain't have to respect the run game, so we couldn't throw deep. And here's Mike addressing the lack of the lack of big plays from last season.
Space yards. What was the last year's defensive at the snap, the space to eligibles ratio? Meaning, how much is the defense off? What's the pass rush? Are we things will be more even when the whole entirety of the offense is even. When our ground game is where we want it and our line of scrimmage play is where we want it. The pre-snap depth of defenders and what they're defending at the very beginning of the snap and post-snap, that changes as well. To me, I'm just not trying to I'm not trying to tell Tua to throw the ball to defensive players. Turnovers are a huge part of the game, or get sacks. So you have to earn those explosive opportunities. To answer your question, the hope is that there will be more based upon the defensive presentations that we earn. But the one thing last year showed us is that we have to earn everything based upon previous things we've done, and that they will simply take away explosive pass game by pre-snap depth unless you can make them pay in the ground game.
Yeah, and that's a major issue for Miami Dolphins. I argue this, and you hear me argue with Chris Perkins from the Sunset. No, we battle about it all season. And he throws me some ridiculous, meaningless stats, and I throw him my ridiculous, meaningless stats. And ultimately, it comes down to when you ran for 2,300 yards and you scored 27 rushing touchdowns, you had a lot of big plays, and you were the number one offense in the NFL, and the number one big play producing offense, because teams are terrified of your run game. Get them to be scared of your run game. And that run game completely disappeared once they lost Austin Jackson. Vanished in thin air. Showed up back for 2 games at the season, but against Cleveland and the Jets. But come on, man. You could not run the ball. You could not pretend like you could run the ball. And you got to the point where you were saying your short passing game became your run game. That's not efficient football, and that's why you didn't have a lot of air yards and you didn't have a lot of big plays. Outside of the fact that I don't think Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle were healthy for most of the season, and the fact that they didn't have Tua for a good bulk of the season. So the question is, have they improved the running game? Isaiah, what have you seen from a run game, even though we are not wearing pads?
I think it was pretty good today, honestly. Jalen Wright, I believe, had a touchdown. Ollie Gordon, the second, had a touchdown. And
for record, it was red zone day, so there's a lot of touchdowns.
Yes, that's true. But their bursts look good. And then Alexander Madison as well had a touchdown. And to me, at the end of the day, it comes down to the offensive line. How are, players going to fit? There's going to be 3 new starters, 2 of them, Patrick Paul and Jonah, starting for the first time in their career. So ultimately, it's going to be about how these guys mesh, how James Daniels meshes with Austin Jackson and Patrick Paul, regardless of, obviously you don't want to speak to the arrangement and how it's going to be put together.
You kind of did.
They did not. No one. That is not true. They didn't even. You confirmed it. But I think at the end of the day, look, who knows, man? Like once we will not know until that first day of
padded practices.
I'm taking a step further. The first day when we do joint practices, that's when we'll know. That's when we'll know to be sure, because at the end of the day, you're running against people that are on your team, right? You wanted to see some different dogs.
It's not violent. You're right. You got a point.
And so once you see that, I believe that first, what is it? The Bears first,
yes,
or is it
the Bears first?
Bears are first, right? So when that joint practice happens, that is when we'll know for sure. Ultimately, obviously Devon Achane had a great season last year. Hopefully Madison.
That great word again with Devon Achane.
Look. I'm
mad at you because you won't stand on it, but I ain't gonna let you stand on it. Look, 1,000 yard back.
Look,
how many touchdowns
he was a step below 1,000 yards, but what he did in the past game was Darren Sproles-esque. It was phenomenal.
How dare
that
you?
Was
Darren Sproles was a baller.
I know he was a baller. I know he was a baller. But there was one play in particular that I will never forget with Devon Achane when he literally jumped up. Sky, we've seen how small this man is. He's not the tallest guy, but when he jumped up and grabbed the ball, I believe it was for a touchdown. I can't remember the game specifically, but that is what showed me that okay, this man is a threat in the passing game, right?
He's a baller. I know.
And so let's not discount that. I believe with the additions of players like Madison, with the addition of players like Ollie Gordon, that hopefully will help boost their short yardage game, which has not been the best in the past, right?
The short yardage game issue, to me, is more of your style and your approach. You can't. They're an outside running team, and they everything is outside run. They got to get an inside. They got to develop an inside run game. They see no commitment to it. They won't stick with it, and so I can't even sit there and hang my head on that. But another topic that we want to discuss was this constant theme that we're better friends. We like each other more. We're more of a team. Oh, we hang out together. Oh, we're over each other's houses more. We have more chemistry. There's such a great bond. Now, understand, Isaiah, I've covered the Dolphins for now like 17 seasons. You know how many times I've heard this?
Yeah, it's starting to become a little old for me as well.
It's double. I'm talking about years I've heard this.
No, I heard the same thing last year. They're talking they're hanging out more, which will help, improve on-field chemistry.
And then you come to learn that nobody liked each other last year. It's like I don't understand, but you clearly see that this is an emphasis, and as Tua and I believe Alec Ingle pointed out, it's an emphasis to the coaches too. They are coaching differently. They are more in your face as opposed to we want to be buddy, which as I call Mike McBuddy. And here's Alec Ingold talking about the changes that he's seen from a culture standpoint within the organization.
Where was the team chemistry at, or where do the theories come that we didn't have it like we do this year? I would say I think there was a little bit of struggle inside the locker room of, I think it's the little things. It's like the details of communication. You have off season that doesn't go the way you want, and things kind of piled up. Now, I think you saw that the first half of the year for sure, but guys fought through it, right? You had the people that were fighting to build the chemistry. Now you learn how valuable that is. You start a fresh off season. You learn your lessons. You got to lick your wounds. You have that same intention walking in without all that friction. I think that allows for a better jump off the ball, because I don't think we had OTAs like this last year. I don't think guys were as dialed in as they are. And this point in the offseason, man, it's really about training focus, intention, laying the bricks of a foundation you can build off of to give yourself a chance. I think that's what we're doing. And it's cool to see the guys stepping up across the whole locker room.
Yeah, everybody's friends, kumbaya. We all love each other. We're over each other's house. As Tua said, my wife is upset at how much time we spend together. Okay. Your teammates, your friends, your whatever. And it really, a lot of this is on Tua and on Zach as the leaders, Jordan Brooks, because the leaders do have to step up, and they have to hold Alec Ingold. They have to hold this team together. And that's going to be a tough challenge, in my opinion, without Calais Campbell and without Teron Armstead, who are the nucleus, who are the glues that held that last year's team together. Let's wrap up this episode, Isaiah, with recapping what we saw Tuesday. I want you to give me a top performer, and I want you to give me a stock down. And then welcome to the hot seat, Isaiah. And then we'll give you what we're looking for in day 2.
Okay. All right. Top performer to me, I'll give it to NWI, right? I think we had been definitely waiting for a moment or two from him. And he delivered today in the red zone where we expected him to kind of not dominate, but definitely show his prowess, especially against the current crop of corners that the Dolphins have, right? A stock down. I'll give a stock down. Okay, I'm gonna just go the entire cornerback group. Stock down. Entire
Isaiah Johnson taking an L.
Isaiah Johnson.
Isaiah Johnson taking an L like that.
He is the only cornerback to have made a play from what we've seen from OTAs to now. And so I'll give the entire quarterback room outside of my man Isaiah Johnson a stock down. I just need to see more from them. And so in terms of what I want to see tomorrow, obviously the cornerback room, I want to see another play from them, hopefully by somebody else, maybe a Cam Smith, Storm Duck, Kendall Sheffield. But outside of that, one name that we haven't mentioned a lot, Kenneth Grant.
Okay.
I want to see something from him tomorrow. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be. I'm not putting him on the spot. I'm not giving him a stock down. I just want to see something from him. And I'll definitely be paying special attention to him tomorrow, just so I can be fully in great shape. But we haven't called his name a lot. And not to say that he's not been putting the work in. He's obviously a rookie adjusting to the pace of the NFL. But at the same time, I want to see something. So that's what I want to see.
I'm going to give my stock up to Malik Washington because I still think that he's the number 3 receiver on this team. I haven't seen anybody beat him out yet. Nick Westbrook, NWI. This is the first time I was like, welcome to training camp. Welcome to minicamp. You've been invisible up until this point. So props to you for giving him the stock up. I did not see Tanner Conner was the orange jersey player, and I did write about him in terms of that's my thing with Tanner, the flash. Tanner flashes all the time when pass come out. He took a shot at me in an interview basically saying, yeah, some people say I only flash when the pads aren't on. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. I've watched you for 4 years. Like,
Yeah.
I know you can play.
Yeah.
When the lights come on, when the pad's on, where the plays at? Like, I know you can ball. Like,
Yeah.
but when the lights are on, people don't realize this, but he started the Seattle game over Jonnu Smith. Imagine if that had gone well. You might not have even heard about Jonnu Smith. Like, these coaches like him. I'm dead serious, though.
Wow. Okay.
Am I lying?
You're reaching. You're reaching a little bit.
No. Jonnu didn't get heated up until Indianapolis.
I agree with you. I agree. It took him a while.
With the playbook.
Look, it took him a while to get going, but one of the very clear standouts from training camp was Jonnu Smith. Right or wrong?
I don't remember that. I don't, because Jonnu barely practiced because he was battling an injury. Okay. I'm telling you, I don't remember that.
I specifically remember that because I told.
Okay, there were certain plays that they were working on, the little trick stuff that they would like. They would look cute, a little cutesy. So
look, and everybody kept raving about. Look, this is a guy. As soon as he gets the ball in his hands, he makes plays.
Yeah.
So I for one was not surprised at the breakout. Obviously, he played well. Rewrote the history books, right? Best tight end season in Dolphins history, right? So let's give him credit for that. But at the same time, I definitely saw it coming. I personally saw it coming.
All right, okay. I'm going to go with my stock down. I'm actually going to piggyback on something that you said. Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, Zeke Biggers. I'm not seeing y'all play like big boys. I saw Liam Eichenberg put somebody on the ground today.
You did say that.
Yeah, I saw Liam Eichenberg put something on the ground. Not to say that Liam is bad, because you know who Liam is. Liam's gonna be your starter at some point in the season. Liam can play. Liam can play in the NFL now. Yeah. But he put Jordan Phillips on that backside, and that defense. Yes, there aren't pads, so you can't really be nasty and violent as a defensive lineman. But I would love to see. There were in red zone. There were some gaping holes for these running backs to run through. They had a really good day today. Yeah. And what I would like to see moving forward, I would like to see more impactful plays from the inside linebackers. I couldn't even tell you who was playing today. I saw Jordan Brooks get beaten once by Jalen Waddle, and I said to myself, "Why is Jalen Waddle covering Jordan Brooks? I mean, why is Jordan Brooks covering Jalen Waddle?" Which was clearly a mismatch and a breakdown that Mike McDaniel and they schemed up. That's great, but in what game is Jordan Brooks going to be covering a 4-3 receiver? Yeah. That's just looking for L. But I would like to see these linebackers make some plays, man. I can't. If the running backs had a good day, that means the defensive lineman and the inside linebackers had a bad day, and that's just how I see it. There's a cause and effect to whatever goes down. So on that note, this has been Dolphins in Depth. We will be back tomorrow. Check for us tomorrow for the breakdown of day 2 of Dolphins minicamp.